Let's also tell you the South African security personnel accompanying President Cyril Ramaphosa on a peace mission to Ukraine were held up in Poland. This comes as the Polish officials said some on board the charter flight did not have permission to carry weapons into the country and were thus not allowed to disembark. After almost 30 hours, the South African delegation comprising journalists and 90 members of the South African Police Service and the SANDF meant to protect the president in his African peace mission were allowed to disembark. African head of presidential security, Major General Wally Rhoode, said all the paperwork was in order.
They say we don't have permits. We have permits. The only difference is now they say we can't bring a copy of a permit. We must bring the original. Now, some of us have original permits. Right? The embassy here printed permits because they thought it's not necessary to have the originals here. They are delaying us. Right? They're putting out the life of our president in jeopardy because we could have been in Kyiv this afternoon already, right? And this is what they are doing. And I want you guys to see this.
Let's have a quick chat about this diplomatic row. Nixon Katembo is an analyst at Great Lakes and East Africa. He's joining us via telephone. Nixon, thank you so much for your time here, Nixon. But over a couple of days now, we've seen Poland and South Africa make headlines over the detention of this diplomatic airplane. What can you read into how this has played out so far?
Well, I think it highlights the unwillingness on the part of certain European players in this peace mission, Poland being part of those who are sounding the war drums in support of Ukraine, rather than looking at a bigger picture of peace negotiations and ending the conflict peacefully. And you'd recall that both Poland and Russia have historical problems that emanates from the World War, where the Soviets overran Poland, and this has not been resolved to this day. And that is the history of Europe. Europe has a long history of violence, of killing each other. That's why you hear about the Treaty of the Westphalia. You hear about several treaties that were signed, even the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, including the First World War and the Second World War, both starting on European soil. So
very well.
It shows once again the complexity around the issue of Ukraine in the current conjuncture of modern warfare.
I see. And Nixon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear you insinuate that this action by Polish authorities could be intentional given its history with Russia. But we know the Polish authorities released a statement to say that the passengers were detained for carrying dangerous goods and some people being unauthorized to be on the ground with weapons. Was this justification enough for the action that was taken against this flight? And how best do you think that Polish authorities could have handled this?
I think that is what I would characterize a diplomatic mischievousness on the part of the Polish authority. Such missions, when they are undertaken, I believe they are first talks between foreign affairs ministries and ambassador representing countries. And for any head of state, you know, their adverse team discussions have to be laid bare on what need to be done and what need to be not to be done. And in this case, I think the South African delegation, including other African heads of state, President Macky Sall of Senegal, Azali Assoumani of Comoros, and Hakainde Hichilema of Zambia, including a delegation from Egypt, as well as Uganda's Prime Minister Ruhakana Rugunda, there has been discussions because those discussions about African Peace Initiative started over a month ago. So it boxed my mind to understand that the policy authority had to be to act this way and then come out to try to sanitize their actions as if there were no prior discussions to the arrival of the heads of state from the continent.
Absolutely. On the South African side, we know spokesperson for the presidency has said that their side was looking into the matter. We also know that the head of the presidential security team that was on the plane at the time had described it, like yourself, as a sabotage to the peace initiative talks. But how else do you expect South Africa to handle this matter?
I think South Africa has been known for its engagement from the diplomatic point of view and finding a peaceful resolution to the negotiations. You would recall that President Ramaphosa himself was South Africa's envoy to the Northern Ireland, breaking a deadlock between the Sinn Féin and the Irish Republican including the British government. So there is a certain level of experience on the part of South Africa, and whether it is going to use that diplomatic leverage in engaging the Polish authority, including Ukraine, where they are going, as well as Russia, to at least stop the hostilities. But however, as I think on the part of the Polish, this was kind of a diplomatic sabotage in taking that approach of stopping the president's advice and security details, including the media. So I think one have to read much into also the history of Poland, being the last standing European countries with so much racist cases that have been reported widely in the media, ultra-right nationalist Polish party, of which President Duda is leading.
Very well.
That notwithstanding that this is done even on European themselves, because the Polish see themselves as a special type within the broader European community. And this is owing to the history of Europe, really, because they have a different ethno communities, the Slavs, of which the Ukrainian and the Russians are part of. Then you have the broader Germanic ethno group, which speaks Germanic languages. Then you have the Finnish, which include Finland and Sweden.
Nixon, I'm afraid we'd have to leave our chat here for now, but obviously this is a developing story, and I hope we can talk again on the subject matter. Thank you so much. Nixon Katembo there is an analyst. We've been talking about the detainment of a South African flight in Poland.